I am the chair of the art department. So our art department is combines 3 programs. So it's studio art, graphic design, and art history. And I teach art history, but oversee the whole department and kind of do advising in all those different areas. So I'll tell you more about the program, but I want to also let Jordan, our junior, to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Jordan Dolinsky. Like Dr. Morse said, I'm a junior this year. I am currently a studio art major, and I'm an unofficial art history major. I've talked to Dr. Morse about that a couple of times, but we haven't actually filed any of the proper paperwork for it yet. So hopefully I can do that real soon. Yeah.
So, I don't know if, well, welcome everybody, and thanks again for joining us. So, like I said, I teach art history, but I've been at Augustana for 13 years now. And so we are a combined program of the 3: studio art, graphic design, and art history. And we really do kind of coordinate in terms of, making sure that you get a little bit of all those things as you move through whichever program you decide. So we have, so if you major in studio art, you take some basic foundational courses, but then you kind of focus on a particular media. So we have photography, drawing, painting, fiber arts, which is actually kind of unusual for a college our size to have fiber arts. So you can take weaving and textile classes, which is pretty great. Ceramics, sculpture, and painting. I think I mentioned them all. But so once you kind of get your foundational classes, you sort of go on a particular track, but there's definitely room to experiment in different kinds of media too. So you don't necessarily have to commit yourself to only do painting, because we like that kind of exploration. So the program then culminates in an exhibition of your work at the Augustana Teaching Museum of Art. So we actually have an art museum on campus. And so that's a great resource in terms of potential internships while you're on campus, work study, as well as then this exhibition opportunity, which is pretty great. So that's kind of what the major ultimately culminates in. And we also have some mini exhibitions. Students have been working with a coffee shop nearby campus to also exhibit their work throughout their career at Augustana. And then our graphic design major, that is something that I guess we've had it for, it's about 10 years old now. And that's a program that's really grown at Augustana. So you take, again, some basic foundational courses, and then it's a real mix between upper level graphic design courses as well as studio art courses, because we do want our designers to have a good foundation in kind of some basic art skills, because that really will benefit you in a career in the future, to be able to kind of sketch out ideas and draw, and to have that kind of visual foundation. And then art history is the art history courses, and each of the programs do dabble a little bit into art history. The graphic design students, I should say, they can, for their senior inquiry, so all Augustana programs, regardless of what you major in, all Augustana students will complete a senior inquiry when they finish, well, not before they finish Augustana. So sometimes it starts in your junior year, but it really kind of results in a larger paper or project or an art exhibition. So graphic design students have the choice between exhibiting in that senior exhibition, or they'll do an internship. So that could count as your senior inquiry as well, to get that kind of hands-on experience. So yeah, so we have, like I said, we have fiber arts. So we do have looms on campus. We have high quality kilns and ceramic studios. We have printmaking. That's another track you could take, is printmaking. So we have intaglio press. And so we're pretty well equipped for a college our size. Classes tend to be small, usually probably about 15 to 20 in a lower level class. And then upper level classes are, you might not even have maybe about 10 students in the class. So you really get that individualized kind of attention. So Jordan, is there anything that you want to say about the program and your experiences?
I know so I have the art scholarship that I don't know if any of you have applied for it or looked into it. If you have, good job. But I have that, and I've gotten to take a lot of classes freshman year that I shouldn't have been able to get into in the first place. I actually took loom weaving my freshman year, and I did not know how that was going to go. And it actually turned out to be a lot of fun. And I really wish I could take the second half of it with the professor, but I don't think my schedule has time for it. But yeah, I've loved all the classes that I've taken so far. Why I brought up the scholarship was because you get to keep it, you have to take at least one art class each term. It used to be trimesters, but now that we're semesters, it still works the same, but there's one last class. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can add more. So are any of the seniors, so who know they're coming next year, do any of you have the art scholarship? You do, Esme? Okay, and you do, okay. Yeah, so what that will mean is when it comes to registering for classes, because we have to keep our classes small, it has partly to do with studio space, and also just the nature of an art class. You really, it's not like the professor can get up at the front of the classroom and lecture, right? It's hands-on, so it's really kind of one-on-one individual learning. So we do have to keep the art classes on a smaller size, which means it's hard to get into the classes, and first-year students are the last to register because we register by seniority. But if you have the scholarship, you will be able to pre-register for one art course per semester. So that kind of puts you ahead of the group of students, and that's really an advantage. Most students with the art scholarship will at least minor in studio art because you pretty much take enough classes to get the minor, and most will end up majoring too. So that is, it's great because you have the scholarship, but it is also kind of forcing you in a good way to get those art courses taken. Yeah, and so juniors, if you haven't, I think Rachel put something in there that she'll get that information. Definitely look out for that next year. It's a great opportunity, especially if you are interested in keeping up with taking art in college. If you want to major in it, you may as well apply. So what that entails is the scholarships range usually anywhere between like $1,000 and $5,000 a year. And you submit a portfolio. So we have our portfolio review in January typically. So so start looking for information about that in the fall. So you submit a portfolio and come to campus for one of our visit days, and you'll have art faculty review the portfolio, and then they kind of determine who will get the scholarship and what amounts. But generally they tend to be pretty, most students will get something. So that's a really great resource. Yeah. I also wanted to mention with our program, a lot of students, I mentioned internships with graphic design, but many of our students in all three of our programs, graphic design, studio art, art history, do partake of internships, whether it's a summer internship or maybe they take internship credits throughout the semester. So graphic design, we'll often work at different design or advertising firms. We have an entrepreneurial center on campus called the Edge Center, and that's an opportunity for a lot of graphic design students to get some internship experience. We also have a film company that is on campus. We have an entertainment and media studies minor. So a lot of graphic design students work with our film company, Fresh Films, and do internships there because sometimes they want like animation and things like that in the different kinds of productions that they're doing. So that's a really great opportunity. And some students will do internships back at home. A lot of the art and art history students will do museum internships or internships with different art organizations. So that's a useful opportunity as well. We also have, many of our students participate in study abroad programs. So now a lot of whether they go, now that we've moved to semesters, we'll work with pairing you up with a institution overseas, depending on where you want to study. And you would take classes at a kind of connected institution, wherever it is, Paris, Tokyo, London, and take courses there. And art's always a good field to take classes somewhere else because you get exposed to the art in that location. So it's kind of the perfect subject for study abroad. But some of our faculty also lead various study abroad programs. So JTerm has become a popular time now for students to participate in different study abroad programs. So our faculty have taken students to South America, Africa, Amsterdam. So there's definitely opportunities to do that if that's something that you think you're interested in. We'll work with you on that. Have any of you heard about JTerm? You have? Okay. So this is basically an intensive 3-week course, 3 weeks more or less. You're just taking one class. And I taught JTerm for the first time, so it's new for everyone, students and faculty alike. And you really get to, well, delve into a subject in a way that you can't really do in a normal semester. So it's a great learning opportunity, but there's lots of opportunities for experiential learning. So I took my students to the Art Institute. We went across the river to the Figge Art Museum. We worked with the collection that we have on campus. So there's a lot of hands-on, exciting learning opportunities that take place during JTerm. And our art faculty do teach a lot of courses during JTerm. Yeah. Jordan, did you take a JTerm course?
I did take a JTerm. I decided to get my quantitative reasoning class out of the way for JTerm, and that's basically just the math class that you have to take to fulfill your perspectives. That was a nightmare, but I'm really happy that I managed to be able to finish that so I can focus more on my actual like major and things like that.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it is a good opportunity too. Yeah, Esme.
Choose which class you want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and actually, that it's like one of the. Yeah, you get to choose what class you take. I mean, there are a lot of JTerm courses that have what we call learning perspectives. So this is the Gen Ed requirements, and all first-year students will take a first-year JTerm course. So so sometimes you're fulfilling a requirement, but you get to choose something of your choice. So yeah, and not every student takes JTerm. So sometimes, even though we had about 80% of our students participate in JTerm, it frees up courses slightly. So yeah, generally you'll get the course you want. Oh yeah, Rachel's just reminding us that all Augustana students get $2,000 through Augie Choice. So that will, you can help pay for a study abroad experience. You can apply that to any kind of research opportunity that you might have. Or an internship. So let's say you have like an unpaid internship somewhere and you need to pay rent, like in Chicago or something. You can use Augie Choice for that. So what other questions do people have? Yeah, that's nice.
So I'm currently enrolled in like IB visual art, and so like there's like this whole huge like exhibition we had to do. And I was wondering, like, have other students that you've had like get credit or anything from like their classes that they've taken like in high school?
We do sometimes accept AP credit. So so what you're taking is different than like AP art?
No, yeah. So like we don't have AP art. We have like IB art.
Right, right.
Yeah. So I didn't really know if that would be like the same thing. But
so as far as I know, and maybe Rachel knows more about the IB credits, as far as I know, we don't take those for college credit, but we do take AP art. But for somebody like you, we do have a introductory drawing course that is really geared towards students who already have art experience. So we have our general like Art 101, but then we have an Art 102 that is really meant for a student like you who already has art experience. So it's just kind of a slightly higher level that you could explore. So that's really intended for like our art scholarship students.
Just to confirm, we don't take IB credit per class, only if you have a full IB certificate. So that's great that there's a place for students to start that's a little bit higher level. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I see a question about art therapy. Okay, so should I minor in art at Augustana or double major? You could kind of go either way. If this is something you know you want to do from the start, then start working towards a double major, because to get into art therapy programs, it would be helpful to have that double major. If for some reason, you know, at any point you felt you couldn't complete a major in one or the other, you could always drop your major to a minor, and still have both of those kind of credentials on your transcript. But we've had a lot of double majors in art and psychology, because yeah, students want to go into art therapy. So that's a common double major. And again, if you know that's what you want to major in, and you can start taking some of those courses in your first year, you should be in good shape. Other questions? Yeah, I see. Sorry, I'm trying to remember names.
So like creating a portfolio, what would you say are like good things to include in that?
I mean, you know, just work that you feel strong and confident in. Is there a particular media that you like to do, or I would suggest really, because at Augustana, we're not really we're not looking for somebody who's coming in who's already specializing in photography. You know, if that happens to be your strength, let's say at this point, then show us photographs, but really show us work that you're proud of. So if you're kind of like dabbling in everything, then show us those things, you know, so then we could see the range that you could do. We're really pretty open. Jordan, do you have more to add? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a list off of things that I brought for the portfolio day my senior year. I'm really grateful because my high school, we did a senior art show. So I already had this giant list of art pieces that I was already going to bring, but I had anything from charcoal drawings to pictures I took to watercolor paintings to acrylic paintings, and even stuff that I had made outside of the school I would bring in and show my teacher, and she would say, you can put that in there. Basically any drawing that I loved and I would really love to show off to the faculty here, I brought it. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think presenting a portfolio for our art scholarship would be quite different than maybe presenting a portfolio at an art school, you know, because the stakes are really high at an art school, right? Because like you have to kind of prove a level of work. We're kind of more interested in seeing where are you at, you know? So it's a little bit different than what you might, I don't know if you're considering art schools, or like even in bigger universities, some of the schools of art you have to kind of be accepted into. You know, we'll really accept anybody as a major because we're a liberal arts school, you know, so this is about kind of exploring all these different fields. So we kind of just really want to see what level are you at right now, and kind of honor that. Yeah, other questions?
Are there any like studio hours required in order to get like the credit for your degree and stuff?
That's a good question. So our courses are usually 4 credit hours, which means that they meet for approximately 4 hours a week. Our studio classes, generally, we try to have them meet twice a week for a longer period. So about 2 hours twice a week, just because, you know, by the time you get all your stuff set up, you know, if it was a regular like Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule where it's just an hour and 15 minutes, you'd be like taking everything back down again. So we do try to have our schedules a little bit different than the way that some other classes operate. So we have that kind of time. And so it's the time in the classroom. And then, I mean, once you get to it's not like you have to get your projects done, basically, I would say is how most faculty approach that. You don't necessarily have to spend a certain number of time in the studio. When you get to your senior inquiry, it will be a little maybe less structured like a traditional class. There is a lot expected that you're working on your own. Sometimes you can build from what you've done in your classes as kind of a starting point. But you would probably have to maybe put in a little extra time to get your senior inquiry done to work towards that show. Or Jordan, do you want to add anything about studio time?
Studio time, I would say utilize all of your time in that class, because I didn't really take advantage of that until earlier this year, when I took painting with one of the professors here. And whenever I would need like help, he would always be there to help me and make sure I was getting the most out of the class. Especially with a class like painting, we use actual oil paints here. So cleaning that all up and setting it up and make sure you don't get it like all over the place, that takes a good half an hour. And especially if you have to clean from the day before or 2 days before and it's just all crusted and gross. But it's really important to have that time to set up and just kind of think before you start doing your class.
Yeah. And I mean, you have access to the studios after regular class hours too, so you can go back and work on stuff. And yeah, but a lot of the class time is dedicated to your working on projects. You just have that advantage, as Jordan said, of having your professor there with you to kind of give you some guidance.
So have you had a lot of like art students that are also like athletes? And like I would imagine, like I feel like it's more difficult to manage like being an athlete and doing art, because like you can't take your work sometimes with you traveling. So I don't know if you have that.
Jordan, do you want to weigh in on that?
I'm not athletic in the slightest, but my roommate is, or she used to be on the basketball team here. She quit this year due to personal reasons. I won't get into that, but she takes mostly the ceramics classes here. So she's really learned to balance her time between workouts, practice, and even going off campus for games, and still getting her assignments and ceramic pieces done and glazed and fired on time.
Okay.
It's really all about how you schedule yourself and make sure you leave that time to make sure you can get everything done before it's due. Because trying to do art projects the night before, like I do sometimes, it's not good. So
it's studio art and graphic design majors who are athletes. It's very common. I mean, just Augustana students in general learn how to manage their time. And you know, your team, like what's working is really good about kind of working with the athletes to make sure that like you're not just putting athletics first, that there's really a balance, because you're a student athlete, and most coaches understand that it is that balance. So they want to see you succeed in both areas. So they'll kind of help you structure your time too. And you know, like Jordan said, you just kind of have to, you'll learn to get into a groove, but you'll be taking other classes too, where maybe you bring your laptop along, you know, or if you're a graphic design student then, or taking graphic design courses, a lot of that will be computer work. Now you might not have the programs like on your laptop that are only available in the studios, but there's you'll figure it out. It's definitely possible, and we for sure have lots of athletes who also are art majors, graphic design majors, etc. Yeah. So Jordan, did you know that you wanted to be, I guess you always knew you wanted to be an art major coming to Augustana?
actually, no, that's not the case.
Oh, okay.
I switched my major twice before finally declaring studio arts. I came in really wanting to, but I was nervous at first. And I just kind of wanted to do what I thought my parents wanted me to do. And then last year I was like, no, I have to do what I want to. And I've been a lot happier since I declared this as my major. I initially came in being history ed. That sadly did not happen, but and then I went into bio last year. And then once I couldn't do bio, I realized art was for me and only for me. But yeah, I've changed a couple of times, but I'm really happy with where I am right now.
Yeah. And you know, that's normal for students to change majors. And most of our majors too double major, right? So we have a lot of graphic design majors that maybe will also have a double major in like business, or we've had some art and psychology are a common double major, because many do want to go into art therapy, art ed, which is kind of its own double major. We've had a lot of art and biology students actually, because we have a pretty good a really good pre-dental program and a good pre-med program. And so the pre-dental students are really encouraged to take sculpture and ceramics because it gives you that advantage in terms of like making crowns and things like that in your future work. So that's always been a kind of standout for a lot of our graduates. And then we've had students who've also gone into like medical illustration and botanical illustration and things like that. So what kinds of classes are offered after the foundations that you have to take? We have upper level classes in like all of those kinds of different areas. So we have upper level painting courses, upper level drawing, figure drawing. But we still offer darkroom photography, and even at the upper levels, we have digital photography. We have ceramics, so we have both hand and wheel thrown ceramics, and yeah, different kinds of fibers classes. So I think there's fiber design and there's weaving. And we have a variety of printmaking. So you can do relief printmaking, intaglio, and screen printing. So a lot of the classes too are just kind of like taking it a step further. So your professors are going to start to get to know you. So like the 300 level painting course, let's say, versus the 100 level, there's not like a theme that makes it totally different. It's just, I think your professor getting to know you and knowing what level you're at and being able to kind of push you then to really kind of get to somewhere even better, right? So, and then for graphic design, we have the foundational courses are an intro to graphic design, a typography class, and then a sort of 300 level design studio course. But we also offer like animation courses and like a sustainability and design class. So there are some more special topic classes in design. Yeah. What other kinds of questions do you have? Sorry, if you hear weird noises in the background, my kids just came in from playing outside, so. Other questions?
I wanted to just point out that Jordan's in her room on campus.
Oh, yeah.
And so there aren't many students on campus right now. Most have gone home to do distance learning and shelter in place, but Jordan is there with, so if you haven't seen an Augustana dorm room, I think her room looks really cute with all her lights on. So gives you a good idea to get a sneak peek in there.
Yeah, I've gotten a chance to really think about how I want to decorate this apartment.
Spending a lot of time there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I also want to point out that our senior exhibit, because we can't have it in the museum this year since the physical campus is closed, we have it online. So you can check out some of our senior work. And so if you go to the main Augustana website and you click on the arts, there's a link to the museum, the Augustana Teaching Museum of Art, and you'll find the exhibition there. So they've done great stuff. So you get a sense of what our students have accomplished. So, and it's both, it features both studio art and graphic design students, as well as a art history senior inquiry project. She's doing a paper on street art, so.
And maybe we can email that link out.
Yeah,
afterwards
definitely.
If you haven't found it.
Yeah.
But Margaret, I was just going to ask you to maybe you mentioned this, I've been kind of doing some logistics in the background here, but did you talk about some of our graduates and some of the fun things they're doing and where they go?
We have lots of graduates who have gone on, some have gone on to grad school for a variety of things, whether it's to get an MFA or going into museum studies. Some have gone into PhD programs in art history. We have, well, a lot of graphic design graduates will go on and work in graphic design studios and firms. Some will go into like marketing and business and just doing, I mean, almost any organization is going to need graphic designers for the various marketing kinds of materials that they do. And some freelance too, you know, they kind of go into work for themselves. And actually we have an entrepreneurship minor, which is a really nice complement to arts majors, because like if you want to kind of go into business for yourself, then you have that kind of background. So we have, it's like some basic business courses, accounting courses that will kind of get you a foot in the door in terms of like setting yourself up for really starting your own kind of career. So yeah, I mean, we have students working, or they're not students, but they're graduates now. We've had some go into art therapy, and they've set up their own kind of clinics or working in various hospitals and museums too. So all over, there's a range. How does this program help you find jobs after college? Like, what kinds of jobs are out there for studio artists? So we have a program on campus called CORE, which is careers, outcomes, research, exploration. But basically, this helps students connect with various jobs. We have a lot of career coaches who kind of help. They work with each student individually to see, like, what are your interests, what are your passions, and where might you want to end up. And so they have been really helpful in trying to find students those kinds of jobs. So sometimes the internships that you might have could lead to jobs in the future. So, you know, we have studio artists often go on to teach. So even some who haven't been like art ed majors will go on to teach in like not the public school system. So we've had one of our studio art graduates from a couple years ago is now teaching in Iowa in a private school over there. So yeah, I mean, teaching museum work. So even studio artists sometimes go on to work in museums, whether it's like exhibition design or art education, those kinds of things. So there's lots of different arts organizations that need people who are practicing artists. And then we have graduates who just go on to become professional artists. I don't know if you've ever heard of the artist Nina Abney. She's just Google her. She's a major artist, contemporary artist, who's working in New York, making her paintings are selling for quite a lot of money, and she graduated from Augustana. So any other questions? Because we're just about at 4:45. No. Well, it was really great to meet everybody, and feel free to be in touch if you have questions. You know, even after we hang up and you remember something, you're always welcome to reach out. So
for sure, we'll get everybody's email to Dr. Morse, and we can do some follow-up and make sure you have all the information and some of those websites that were mentioned. So thanks everybody. Thanks Dr. Morse for all the information. Jordan, thank you. It's always fun to hear the student perspective.